Check, 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 check. I think we're good. Hey, Lindsay, how you doing? Can you hear me? Move this over here. See everything. Okay. Can you hear me, Lindsay? No?
I cannot hear you. 1 second. I'm so sorry.
No, you can't hear me at all? No? No, still can't hear me at all? No.
Mhm.
Let me try this. Can you hear me at all now? No?
I still can't hear you. Sorry, I just got these headphones and they're brand new and I'm just trying to figure them out. I'm so sorry.
Can you hear me at all? Can you hear me, Lindsay? No. Can you hear me? No, can you hear me? No. Can you hear me at all?
I can hear you now.
Okay, good, good, good.
Yay.
All right, we got it fixed. I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
Very officially kind of like meet you, Lindsay. I know you're with Josh, his MGA team. Josh is actually my RGA. So
Okay,
I've been
cool.
with Josh for the last 5 years. Been my supervisor. He's got promoted, I got promoted. We've kind of just, been together through this whole business for the last 5 years. So when you're working with him, you're working with me very closely as well. I always kind of try to put a hand and try to make sure you guys are taken care of as well. So if he doesn't answer, don't hesitate to shoot me a phone call. Okay.
Okay, cool. I didn't catch your name.
The mic.
Yeah.
Okay. What was that? I'm sorry.
Because of the no sound at the very beginning, I didn't catch your name.
Drew.
Drew? Okay.
Yes. Yes. So I'll be going over today with you the no cost benefits of the program. Okay. So it's one of the big things that sets the company aside from other companies is having those no cost benefits, right? It does a couple of things for us as agents and for the members and for the company itself. Okay. So they're not just something you can kind of buy through and not explain or not, make them realize why they're important. Right? They're not designed for you to just kind of add on extra. They're designed to really for you to gather information on the member themselves, gather information that you can use down the road in the presentation, and that also kind of pre-qualify them as well.
You're getting a little scratchy.
Yeah, this microphone, I'm not working the greatest because we don't have batteries for it. So
Sure.
maybe I'll just turn it off. Can you hear me now still?
Yeah, you're great.
Okay. We'll do it that way instead. That way we don't have to worry about it. It's right through the microphone or the camera.
Sure.
It just looks like I have one on here. It's good. But yes. So I want you also to realize that there's no like direct money in actually going over the child safety kits or the discount cards or anything like that. Like you're not going to really make any money just from doing that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the main goal and main reason why we do go over them is typically to collect referrals and also to gather information that we can use down the road. All right. So now is this backwards or is this the correct way? Can you read this?
I can read it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. My handwriting's not too sloppy. It's good.
Nope. You're good.
Okay. So the 6 basic no cost benefits that our company has and that not each member is going to get, but the ones that are kind of available are the child safety kits, AIL plus discount card, the family information guide or FIG. You'll typically hear it referred to as the FIG. The AD&D certificate. Now this would be like a union, an association, or like a credit union.
Right.
So those are the only kind of members that are going to get that AD&D certificate. If they're like a will kit program or a child safe program, or a referral, typically they won't have that. Right? That makes sense?
Yeah.
So they're typically for due paying members. Right? Now, the free will kit program and the child safe program, those are their own kind of needs. Like these are 2 kind of unique ones. We have, those are 2 kind of outreach programs that we have for the community. Main reason why we take care of the child safety kits is because one of the biggest unions we represent and take care of are the police unions. And it's their campaign to get as many of those out as we can. So we just basically have an ad run a couple of times on Facebook. They can fill it out through our website. And we basically get out to them and go over the kind of the same program, right? In the will kit program, kind of the same thing, but maybe for the older generation, people who are retiring, they found out that a lot of our union members were retiring without a will or retiring without anything in place. And that was a big problem because there were either families were having to spend extra money on it or, didn't have anything. So we came up with that program as well. So, another website that they can go to and request a free will kit program as well. So, and then the 6th no cost benefit, which I'm not really going to go over with you because it's a different part of the presentation, is the needs analysis, right?
Right.
We're going to go over the first 5 today, kind of in depth. I'm going to break them down for you, show you kind of typically how I would walk somebody through them, and then also, what you're going to get out of it and what the member gets out of it too. And then we're also going to kind of do the basics of referrals there as well. All right. So it's just kind of me and you one-on-one today. So if you've got questions, let me know. All right.
Okay.
All right. So you've been in a couple presentations with Jay, correct?
2. We've had a lot of no-shows.
Yeah, it happened.
Yep.
But it's not going to happen forever. The good thing is you'll be getting on the phones tonight and set some appointments, which will be exciting, right?
Yeah.
Now the child safety kits, and I'm actually going to pull this up. They're actually physical kits, right? It's usually the first benefit I go over with them is the child safety kits, right?
Yeah.
Mainly because it's kind of an easy way to collect referrals right off the bat and to get that referral train we're going, but the way I introduce the child safety kits is typically, the first benefit they have set up for you is your child safety kits. All right. Notice how I didn't say the first benefit I'm going to go over with you. So the first benefit they have set up for you. You always want to kind of use they, them, we, as opposed to I or me. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's less pushy, but you're still getting the same thing accomplished. You're including yourself with that, right?
Right.
There's a lot of small psychology that's involved here. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now the child safety kit itself, the first thing, there's like basically 3 things you kind of want to do with every one of the no cost benefits, right? So the first thing you want to do and want to accomplish with them is give a good introduction on why it's important. Or why it was created. You got to give them a reason why we're going over this. All right. The second thing you got to do is you got to explain it. And under that one, I want you to make it real to them. Real/useful to them. And then the third thing you want to do is collect referrals. Right now, the first 2 are very vitally important to doing this, because if you don't do the first 2 correctly, you're typically not going to collect any referrals. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And where you really have an easy time at collecting referrals is in the first 10 to 15 minutes of talking to that person and just sitting down with them and building some basic rapport. Right. You want to know a little bit about their family, because typically when you're going over referrals, you want to take the kind of the low hanging fruit, assume 1 or 2, and then they'll kind of open everything up at that point. Right. But the third thing doesn't happen unless the first 2 happen. Right. So the introduction on why the benefit is important, especially with the child safety kits, it's numbers and facts. That's what it is. Right. Now, Lindsay, do you have any kids yourself?
Nope, just my 2 cats that keep running around in the background.
Gotcha. Okay, so no kids yourself. But do you have any nieces or any nephews or cousins or little, any little kids in the family?
I have 1 niece.
1 niece. How old is she?
I think 9.
No. Okay. So the reason why I asked you that question is, if you are a parent, like, this should resonate more with you.
Yeah, I used to be a live-in nanny and all of that. So yeah.
Good. Okay. So you understand that like protecting kids is a huge thing for them.
Right? My bachelor's is in education. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Right.
It's important.
So the one thing I always kind of start off with is just giving them some facts and some numbers on why this was created and why it's a thing. Right. Mm-hmm. So I usually tell them, the first no cost benefit you have that the union set up for you, is your child safe ID kits. Right. And most of the time I'll know if they have kids or not if they don't have kids, I'll say, something like, I'm sure you know some people with kids, right? Typically, I'll just say that anyway, just because I've said it over the last 5 years every single time. But you can kind of tailor it to if they have kids or not. You can always just say, I'm sure you know some people with kids, right? And they're going to say, yeah. Okay, great. You're going to love the first benefit they had set up for you, right? It's actually the child safe ID kits. So the child safety kits themselves, it comes in like a plastic bag when they get it, right? And it opens like, I know you've seen the presentation, so you've seen the slideshows, right? And you have it.
Yeah.
But it opens up the same way. So this is the inside of it, right? And then this is the back of it. So it looks the exact same. It just folds up like this, right? And it does come with a police grade ink strip, all right? And it just pops open. It's pretty easy to open up for them. It's not, it really isn't rocket science. It's really not. It's pretty simple. But the first thing I usually go over with them is, like I said, some stats. So, the reason why this kit was designed is that just alone last year, about 450, almost 500,000 children went missing or got abducted. It's a lot of kids. That's during a pandemic too, right? So the reason why this is designed is because the Police and Teachers Association, it's their campaign to get as many of these out to the community as possible, right? I don't know if you can see that seal there.
Yeah.
But that's their seal, right? So I usually show people that right on the front. But the child safety kits, the reason why they're designed is that those kids, if they do go missing, the stat out there from the FBI is that if they don't come home in the first 24 hours, 97% of the time they don't come home at all. That's crazy. That's a crazy stat, right? And then I usually tell them kind of like a little story or something like that, or ask them, I'm sure you've been in a situation with your kids where, maybe you went to go pay for something, you took your eyes off them for a second and they were gone, right? Now, I'm sure in that same instance, you walked around the corner and found them, but in that 30 seconds, that 30 seconds probably felt like an hour, right? You were panicking. That's why the kit was designed. So that if something, God forbid, does happen like that, and the kid does go missing, you're able to quickly give the information to the authorities that they need. So the main reason why it's designed is it takes the sharpest parent or grandparent 4 to 6 hours to give the police everything they need in that kit. Because if something happens, typically it's panic sets in. And they're not thinking straight. They're not remembering height, weight, eye color, hair color. They're thinking about where are they at? Where could they be? If they're old enough, why aren't they answering their phone? Right? So that's why it was designed, to give the police everything, boom, right off the bat, and they can start that search immediately. Right? Most of the time, typically in any state. Now, are you in Illinois or are you in a different state?
Arizona.
You're in Arizona, okay. So, and typically in almost in any state, it's basically like a mile a minute. So every minute that kid is away from home is another mile that they could be.
Yeah, and I'm here in Phoenix, which is so spread out.
So in Chicago, for instance, in Chicago, if something happens to a kid in Chicago, they can be in 3 different states in 2 hours.
Yeah, I used to live in Iowa. I moved from Iowa to here, so I'm very familiar to Chicago. Yeah,
like the Midwest is crazy. It's highways.
Oh yeah.
Travel very fast, very
I
quickly.
used to live in Fairfield, and people were like, "Oh yeah, like it's such a small city and everything." I'm like, "Yeah, but I can hit in 4 or 5 hours. I can hit this city and this city and this city and this city and this city in 5 hours." I'm like, it's not hard.
No, and that's one of the main reasons why this is designed, is to give the police quick access to everything that they need right then and there. So it's not, I have to wait to find a picture of them. I have to wait to get some ID from them, It's very quick. So once I kind of give them that information on why it's important, giving them those stats, the next thing I do is explain how the kit works. Now, it's not a difficult thing to explain by any means, right? It's really not. I'm just gonna pull it up on the screen for you.
Yeah.
But you always want to make sure that they understand the importance of it, so you kind of walk them through it. And the first thing I do when I'm walking them through it, if they have kids, I say, "Now, Mary and Joe, what's one of your kids' names, for example?" And they just tell me one of their kids' names. Right? It works magic. So if you don't know through building rapport, you should know the kids' names or the ages by building rapport. But if you don't know, that's a good way to kind of find out the kid's name. And let's say, I say, Mary and Joe, which one of your kids' names, for example? And they say, oh, his name's Billy. I'd say, okay, great. So what you're going to do is you're going to write Billy on the front here, and then the date it's completed on. So I usually annotate the screen with them. I don't know if you know how to do that on Zoom or not. If you slide up, you can annotate and draw on the screen. So typically that's what I'll do. I'll put, Billy's name in there and the date is completed on. And then on the inside, I kind of walk them through how it works. On the inside, I say, now, number one is all their personal information. So anything that's going to change about Billy, like his height, his weight, his eye color, hair color, maybe, you're going to put that in pencil. That way you can just erase it and change it. But anything that's going to be permanent, like name, birth date, social, that type of thing, you're going to put that in pen, right? Now, number two would be a physical description of Billy. So anything that makes him unique, glasses, braces, scars, birthmarks, anything like that. You mark it down on the little character here. Like if there's a scar on the elbow, you write, scar on elbow, one scar on elbow, right? Number three is the DNA sample. So what the police don't want there is spit or blood. What they do want is a hair follicle or fingernails, right? And this is kind of where I get the parents to laugh a little bit, right? Just give them because some of this stuff is pretty dry. So you want to just get them to laugh and you want to entertain them a little bit too, I say Mary and Joe, and I would say that this never fails, really, to be honest with you. I would say, Mary and Joe, I'm sure your kids are never bad, right? Or I'm sure the grandkids are never bad, right? And they usually go, never bad. Are you kidding me? Or they'll go, yeah, never. They'll laugh about it, they'll chuckle, right? Because kids are bad. They just are sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And what I usually say is, next time they're being bad, instead of grabbing that whole head of hair, right? Just pluck one or two hairs out and take that down for a DNA sample.
Mm-hmm. It's like they're already upset. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, at that point, you just pull hair out. And I usually joke like they're probably bad about 2 times a year, right? Well, the good news is you need 2 DNA samples a year in here. So you're going to update that about every 6 to 8 months. Okay. Now, if the kids have short hair, like we were I don't know if we were smart as kids or not, but my mom would always pull our hair. That's where that kind of came from. When I was young, I used to have longer hair. My mom used to pull it when we were bad. But we all got smart as kids and we shaved our heads, right? So we didn't have too much hair, so she couldn't grab the hair. Well, moms are crafty. They figure things out. So she started grabbing our ears instead, right? If that's the case, if they have short hair, they can use fingernails. There's some DNA in your fingernail follicles. There's dead skin in there, right? Mm-hmm. Either way, tape it down or get like a little small plastic bag and just tape it to it.
Tape it, yeah.
Either way works.
Mm-hmm.
But DNA sample, they need that updated every 6 to 8 months. And then it does come with a police grade ink strip. Number 4 is the fingerprint information. Now there's probably enough ink on here to do 3 or 4 of these kits, but each kit comes with its own ink strip, right? Now this strip is non-toxic. It'll never harm the kids, right? But it is extremely messy. I hate to even downplay it, but it's really, really messy because it's permanent ink, Yeah. It's not permanent to their fingers, but if they get it on the wall or the table or their clothing, something like that, it's not coming out. I can promise you this, Lindsay. My brother thought this was a joke a couple of years ago. God rest his soul. He thought it was a joke and he thought it wasn't permanent. So he put his finger on this and wiped it on his table. It's right across his kitchen table, right? It's still on that table. Now, my brother's wife is very crafty and she has a big table runner that goes across it so you can't see it. But every time I used to go over his house, I would move the table runner so you could see if it was still there, and it's still there. So I always tell people it is permanent. Now, I always kind of maybe give them a little bit of a joke here too. I say, now, I don't want to call a couple weeks from now saying, Drew, you got to come repaint my walls because there's black fingerprints all over them. Right. So I advise you to do this either outside or before bath time. Right. Keep it easy on the parents because this will come right off their fingers with soap and water. It won't come off the walls though. Right. And then typically right there, I ask them, do you have any questions on how to fill out the inside? And they'll usually say no. All right. And then I kind of flip it back to this page where number 5 is, kind of just follow along with the numbers. Number
Mhm.
5 would be the photo of the child. So school photos typically work the best. It's usually a headshot, it's usually an HD, it's just the kid. That's typically what they want. Now,
Right. If they're too young, that doesn't work.
typically, yes. So if they're younger, you're gonna see like a lot of like full body shots just because they're very small, right? But they always advise at least a picture updated every 6 to 8 months as well. Now, good thing is a lot of parents do this. They take a picture of their kids before they leave the house to go anywhere, which is a great thing to do. Remember what your kid's wearing. But at the end of the day, all it takes is one individual to take your kids, put different clothes on them, and walk them away.
Right.
So that's why this kit's designed to have multiple ways to look at a kid, right? Then all you would do at that point, I basically say in the middle there's some information for tips for parents. Number 1 is stranger danger, or number 1 is teaching the kids 911. 2 is stranger danger. 3 is probably the one I go over with every time. I just let them know because there's like a conflict of interest here with the teachers. Most of the time, the teachers want like a name on the backpack or something like that, so they can kind of put them in cubbies or on their hooks or whatever they have at the preschool. But that's not very smart to do, because all it takes is one person at a school to stop by and say, Timmy, your mom told me to come pick you up from school today. All he looked at was the kid's backpack. That's it. Our kids are very gullible. As long as they know their name too. It's the first thing that parents typically teach their kids is their name, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I don't recommend that. I usually recommend having like a sticker or a colored piece of tape or initials, right? But that's the last thing I basically go over with them. Now, and the final question is I usually ask them, now, do you have any questions on how your child safety kits work at all? And they'll say, no, we're good there, Drew. Okay, great. Now, can you see the value in having these child safety kits for your kids? And they'll say, typically, yes. That's the question you kind of want to leave them with at the end. Do you see any value? Can you see why they set this up for the union members? Can you see why the police and teachers need to get these out to everybody? Right? We're trying to pique their interest in it, right? Getting them to tell us yes right there.
Right.
Once we get that verbal yes, I'm going to say, okay, great. Now, last thing with the child safety kits, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to grab your phone. I want you to open up a new contact in the phone. And then I want you to save this number as child safe ID kits, so that if you ever lose these kits, you damage them, you need more down the road, all you have to do is call that phone number and they'll actually get more kits sent directly out to the house. Right? And then I usually say the number is right down here at the bottom. It's 1-800-742-6783. So I get them to grab their phone. I don't want you to be afraid either of them being on their phone. If they're on their phone with the Zoom meeting, they can still back out of Zoom, go into their contacts, and they'll still be on Zoom. They'll still be able to hear you.
Yeah, the video is off at that point.
Correct.
Yeah. So I'm familiar with that.
Okay, I was saying maybe it happened to you personally, or maybe you've been in a sit with Jay when it happened.
Yeah, well, during the pandemic, I was part of a life coaching program. I'm a certified life coach, and so I'm used to that. Yeah.
Okay, love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But the reason why we want to do that is we want to get their phone in their hands, right? Because the next part, once we explain why the benefit's important or introduce the benefit, explain how it works, make it real to them, using their kid's name and giving them the stats. Next thing we got to do is collect referrals. So at that point, you basically have to say that referral collection script every single time the same exact way, right? Now, Mary and Joe, the police and firefighters, they aren't asking for any monetary donations for the kits, so you don't have to worry about that, right? But what they are asking is that you do your part in the community by sponsoring a minimum of 10 family members, friends, neighbors, anybody you know that has little kids that can benefit from having this, right? Most families, they actually start with their own family. So I know you said your brother Joe lives about 2 blocks away and he has 2 kids as well, correct? Let's start with him. Now, Joe has the same last name as you? right? You want to assume that first one. Once you can assume that first one, you have it down ready to go. You can just say, okay, you got one down, you got 9 spots open, who's next? Right? And if they have any issues like, oh, I don't know, I can't think. Well, you know, you can tell them what most people do is while you have your phone in your hand, the easiest way and most effective way they found to get these child safety kits out to the parents that need them is to actually for parents to sponsor other parents. Right. So easiest way they found to do this is actually while you have your phone out to go through your phone, go through your contacts A to Z. That way we don't forget about anybody. Right. So go ahead and grab your phone and head into the contacts, and we'll see if there's anybody in there that needs a child safety kit. All right. So you got 9 more spots left. Who's next there? Anybody that Billy plays baseball with, or any, you know, you kind of just want to give them suggestions at that point. Right. Take the first one and then give them suggestions on how to get more. And once you get a couple of them, don't stop at 4 or 5. 4 or 5 is great. They know more people than that. You want to coach them up to get the rest of them. So you know you're doing great. You got 5 down. You got 5 more spots left. Who's next? Who else do you want to sponsor into the program? All right. Now, once you have those names there, next thing you got to do is make sure that person calls or texts those people right then and there. Right. So the best outcome here is getting them to what's called roll the referral, to actually have you call them right then and there, and then put that person on your schedule. Right. Maybe for right after that appointment or a little bit later that evening. It's even better. Right. And the way you get to that is you basically, after you have your 8 names there, you're going to say, Joe and Mary, we meet with about 6 to 8 members every single day, and sometimes it's tough to squeeze, these child safe members in. Now, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to promise you, I'm going to do my best to make sure I get out to every single one of them, right? But I really would be squeezing them in between my union members. So what they found out that the best way to actually do this is actually for you to shoot them a phone call right now, so that way we can get them on my schedule right now so it doesn't fill up. All right, so if we're going to call 1 or 2 of the people on this list now, who would be the most important on this list, and make them pick who the most important people are and just call them right then and there. And it's almost the same thing. You can call them, and when they call the person, they're going to be like, hey, hey, Mark, I got my union benefits, lady here, and she's going over these child safety kits, and it'll kind of like fumble. He won't know what to say, or he or she won't know what to say. When you're at that point, especially with being virtual, all you have to kind of do is, if they're on their phone, it's a little tough, but if they're on Zoom with you on the computer, all you have to do is kind of motion to them, hey, or just say, hey, Joe, put it on speaker, and I'll talk them through everything. Go ahead, just put them on speaker, Joe, and hold it up to the screen. That works so much better because now you're in control of the whole conversation. And you can just set them for an appointment right in your schedule, just like you would a normal child safe referral, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other thing you want to make sure that they do is that they text or call these people. So after I get done collecting the names, if I'm trying to roll them and they're just not cooperating with it, I'm not going to like beat a dead horse there and make sure that they call those people. I'm going to keep it moving, right? But I will say, now Joe and Mary, it's tough enough for me to get all these union members taken care of. I'm going to be taking care of your family and your friends as well. The only thing that I ask of you is that while once we get done here or a little bit later, can you do me a favor and shoot them a text message individually or call them and let them know I'm going to be calling about the child safety kits. Can you do that for me, Joe? And they'll say yeah. All right. You want to get them to promise you there, because if you get those lists of names and they don't call or text them, it's a little bit tougher to set them for an appointment. But if Joe texts them and says, hey, Lindsay's going to be giving you a call about the child safety kits, when they answer the phone, they're like, oh, Lindsay, yeah, Mark told me about you, right? So much easier to set an appointment that way. And you're just going to up your show ratio. You're going to up your appointment set ratio, right? It's easier that way. That's all. So, but after the child safety kits collected those referrals, I just ask them now, do you have any other questions on child safety kits, how they work, anything like that? They typically tell me no, and then I move on. All right. But Lindsay, do you have any questions on the child safety kits at all?
No, I'm just taking notes about what
Okay.
you were just saying.
Okay, good. All right. So the next benefit that they have set up for you, right? Or, the next benefit your union has set up for you is the AIL Plus discount card. All right. Now, this discount card is designed to save you money on out-of-pocket medical costs. So I want to establish right off the bat with a member too, that this is not insurance. This is not going to replace your current health insurance or take care of, any kind of hospital bills. Right? This is designed to take care of anything you pay out of pocket for at the pharmacy, the chiropractor, the optometrist, the dentist, right? The reason why this is designed is a lot of our members were retiring and losing their workplace benefits, having no, insurance down the road, having to pay thousands of dollars for prescriptions. So we designed this discount card to help save our members money on their out-of-pocket costs. All right. So reason why we designed it. Second thing I say now, the way it works is all you do is you would show this card on your phone to the pharmacist or the chiropractor or whoever, and they would be able to scan it and take money right off the top if they can. All right. So this next screen here, you can see these are all the kind of benefits that a member can get for having this card. All right. Now, at this point as an agent, what you want to do is kind of underwrite them, if that makes sense. All right. I usually see, now, if you were wearing glasses or something like that, Lindsay, I would say, I could see you wearing glasses, right? Do you pay anything out of pocket for your glasses? You have contacts, okay. So
but also glasses. I both.
There you go. Right. So, and I would always ask them, do you pay any money out of your pocket for those glasses at all, Lindsay?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what most of our members say as well. Right. The good thing about this is you can save, up to 60% on your out-of-pocket cost for your glasses. Right. So that's a good bit of change. It's a good bit of money, especially if your glasses are $200-300. Right. Next question I usually ask them, I usually would say, Lindsay, do you guys take any prescription medications or anything like that at all?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Do you pay any money out of your pocket for those at all?
Yes.
You do. Okay. So at the top here, the number one thing people save money on is their retail pharmacy. So CVS, Rite Aid, Walgreens, Target, all those big name companies, they do accept this card, right? So they'll save you anywhere from 10 to 85% off those medications. Now, keep in mind, Lindsay, if you're only paying a couple of bucks out of your pocket, not really going to save you a lot of money. But some of our members pay $300-400 every time they go, and it does save them a good bit of money over the year, right? And then I'll also kind of say, chiropractic visits are free. Diabetic supplies. Do you take anything for diabetes at all? No, we're good there. Okay, I don't have to worry about that then. And then, the other thing people save a lot of money on here is the telemedicine.
Yeah, I was going to say the telemedicine is like something I would personally talk about because I use a telemedicine service personally. And as a carrier for strep, it is key when I can't get into the doctor quickly to be able to see a doctor whenever I need to.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Like people that don't want to go to the doctor, can't make it there, don't have transportation. This is great. It's $38 annually. You go to the doctors 2 times a year, you're paying at least $300.
Yeah.
That's $260 in savings right there.
Yeah. I mean, I pay for a service and it's $23 a month in order for me to get telemedicine. This is $38 a year. And I'm like,
exactly. So the discount card does save our members a lot of money. Now, this has just been updated. So this is about a year old. They updated this in August of 2020. So this is like kind of still brand new, right?
Yeah. Javon was saying it used to be only 65%.
Yeah. And it didn't include the diabetic supplements. It didn't include
the telemedicine.
It didn't include dental. It didn't include a lot of things. Good news is our company is always evolving. So they're always trying to get the best benefits for their members. Now, the way that the program works is this works off of union buying power. You know what that is, Lindsay?
It works off of union buying power, you said?
Correct.
Yeah, I think Javon mentioned the more members that actually use it, the better it gets.
Exactly. That's exactly the way it works. So the more members that use it, right, our company will see that and they'll give that data to, you know, the companies, and they'll say there's many members using this program, shopping at your stores more, right? So more stores will, you know, get in on the program, and then because of that, we'll be able to provide higher benefits because there's more traffic, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way that works, and that's the way this card works, right? So the reason why, you know, I don't usually say that in the meeting, but you can. It's a good way to get them to realize that, you know, I'm going to be asking you to refer people into this, right? But at the end of the day, if you make this important enough to people, they'll just refer people because they see a benefit in it, right?
Yeah, Javon did that, and the last call that we did last night, he referred that it used to only do 10 to 65% pre-COVID, and then it got better because more people were utilizing the benefits. And I was like, I'm taking notes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's 100% what happened. And like I said, this is kind of brand new to, well, we had a discount card before, but this version of it's brand new. So the way it actually works though is it's not really a physical card. It's actually an app on their phone. So they can just download this at any Google Play Store or Apple App Store. It's free, doesn't cost them any money. I would recommend you to download it and use it too, because you can use it, right? Ask Jay how to download it. He knows everything about it. But it's great because a lot of people don't really carry physical cards, or they lose them or things like that. Like I can't tell you how many times I lost a CVS card or any kind of like subscription card like that. Right?
Or honestly, because of their wallets, they prioritize what they want in their wallet and they'll take it out.
So you don't even have to worry about that. It's on their phone. Everyone has their phone with them at all times. Right? It's like it's glued to your hip. So the great thing about the phone app too is it has like a store locator. So it'll let you know every person in the area that accepts the card. So they can just put their address in and it'll show a big map of all the providers in the area that accept it. So they don't have to go asking every single person. It's pretty cool. Like this app is great. I'm a big fan of it. And the way that, you know, you're going to build value in it is kind of just asking them about their current situation and their family's needs. And another reason why you want to do that is you kind of want to pre-qualify them as well. So if I know they're taking a lot of medications, they're paying a lot of money for their medications, I know at that point, maybe the underwriting is going to be a little bit more difficult, right? And vision doesn't really matter about underwriting, but it's just something that I wear. So I kind of include myself with them, if that makes sense. Right.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I have horrible vision, but people don't know because I wear contacts the majority of the time. But I'm like, oh yeah, when I put on my glasses, they're like bottle cap thick.
I can't do contacts. I have this weird thing about touching my eyes, so I just don't wear them. But the discount card, the way to kind of collect referrals from that is just by simply asking them and letting them know, hey, this program is very new, Lindsay. And, you know, over the last year, it saved our average member about $300, right? So, you know, right now for a limited time, they're actually allowing you to sponsor other people that aren't in the union to receive this discount card as well. So who do you know that doesn't have the best benefits? Or, you know, who do you know that just recently retired? Who do you know that owns their own business? Right? Who do you know just got married? Maybe, who do you know just had a kid? Right? All of that stuff is great because those are typically people that are using this card. Right? So you want to kind of give them examples and kind of just assume one or two of them. But other than that, you know, you want to make sure that they understand the value of it again. Now, Mary and Joe, you know, Can you see why that they set this discount card up for you guys and all their members? Yep. Does it make sense why that they would set this up for everybody? Right. So after I find out if they have any questions and make sure that it makes sense to why we're going over this with them, keeping them in tune with me, right? Keeping them talking. So after that, after you get referrals, you're just gonna slide into the next benefit, right? But before we go, do you have any questions on it at all, Lindsay?
No.
All right, cool. So the next benefit that the union set up for you is your AD&D certificate, or the next benefit in your child safe program is your family information guide. Sorry, not your AD&D, your family information guide. All right. So the reason why this guide was designed, right, why it's important is, I'm about to sneeze, I think. Okay, they were okay. The reason why this was designed is that a lot of our members were passing away and their families could not find the information quick enough. They were basically flipping through every piece of paper in the house to try to find all this information. So what this is designed to do is guide your family to the information they need to get them from passing to the funeral. That quick 3 to 5 day process where there's a lot going on, the last thing your family wants to do is flip through the attic to look at thousands of papers, right? So that's why we designed this. It's not, I want to tell them again, it's not a will, not designed to be a will. It's just designed to get the information passed down when you're not here anymore, right? I usually start by asking them if they have a will set up. Most people tell me no. I would say, Lindsay, do you have a will or anything like that set up yet? No. Okay. Well, don't worry. This is a very good start to that. The next benefit that they had set up for you was a family information guide. So what this is going to do, Lindsay, is it's going to get your family from passing to the funeral. That quick 3 to 5 day process where there's a lot going on. The problem and concern with our union members is that they were passing away and the family was having to flip through every piece of paper to try to find this. All right. So I'm going to briefly walk you through how it all works. And then when I send these out to you, you'll know how to fill them out. Does that make sense? I'll say yes. All right. So I just basically walk them through. Now I don't hit on every single part in here, but I do go over every section very quickly.
Yeah.
Right? So top part is the vital statistics and historical data. That's just a fancy word for saying your information. So name, birthday, height, weight, social, all that good stuff goes in, right? Next part down is veterans information. I always ask them, Lindsay, are you a veteran at all?
Nope. I almost did.
Not a veteran. Don't have to worry about that then. Of course, if they are a veteran, thank them for their service, right? Goes without saying. Maybe ask them a little bit about that. Get them to talk about a little bit about it. All right. Don't go into extreme detail. Where were you stationed at? All that good stuff, unless you were in the military. Like if you were in the military, I definitely go over that stuff.
Yeah, I was Navy ROTC, almost joined the Navy. So yeah.
My mom would have killed us. She would
Yeah.
have killed us. She wanted something better for us, but that wasn't the way to do it, she said. Oddly enough, my brother became a police officer in the city of Pittsburgh. So we also have 2 cousins that are police officers, so I think that's why he did it. And his fiance's mother is assistant police chief in the city too. So kind of runs in our family now.
There you go.
I don't want it to happen, but it did. All right. But of course, I mean, that goes without saying. Thank them for their service, that type of thing.
Sure.
If they have a spouse, you would say, Mary, this is where your information goes, spouse's information. And then, when we send them out, of course, you send out 2 of them, one for the husband, one for the wife, right? But they can put the spouse's information in there as well. The 4th section here is a pretty important section, though. It does say persons to be notified. So you can kind of figure out who their beneficiaries are going to be right here. You would say, of course, Joe, if you passed away, Mary, you would be his beneficiary, correct? And Mary, I'm assuming the same thing for Joe. All right, so you guys would put each other in that top line, and then where persons to be in charge of final arrangements. But there's also a second line in there. Who would be second for you, Joe? Who would be second for you, Mary? All right, we kind of want to get them to start thinking about that a little bit right there. Right? If they don't know anybody, you got to make sure that they understand the importance of having somebody on that, because they want to be notified by somebody, maybe their neighbors, their brother, their sister, somebody on it.
Mm-hmm. best friend, something.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Someone like that. Someone cares about them.
Right.
The next section down is the last will and testament section. So you can see right there, it says if I have prepared my will, my attorney is, my executor is, and then the location of it, right? What good is making a will if your family can't find it?
Right.
There's people out there that do that. There's people out there that have a will, design the will, keep it up in the attic, their family never finds it. Happens, right? So if you're gonna pay all this money to have a will designed, why would you not make sure your family knows it's where it's at? It just makes sense. If they have a will, tell them to put their information in. If they don't, when you get one designed, put your information in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, the estate information, this is by far the most important section that's on the whole family information guide, by far. All right. Now, with the estate information, this is where all of their life insurance is going to go. Right. So I would say, Mary and Joe, this is a very important section. This is probably the most important section that's on the information guide. This is the estate information, or where all of your life insurance is going to go. Right. So you have to ask them this question in these exact words. You have to say, Mary and Joe, do you guys have any permanent life insurance in force right now? Right. Now, they can answer that in three ways. They can answer, number one, they can say yes. Number two, they can say yes. And then number three, they can say no. Let's just go with the first one. They say yes, right? And then once they say yes, you got to kind of figure out if they have permanent coverage outside of work or through work.
Right.
And I would say, okay, you said yes, you do have permanent coverage. Okay, is it at work or is it outside of work? Right? If they say, yeah, I have it through work. Well, we all know that work coverage is not permanent.
Right.
Right? So once again, you can reaffirm them there. You know, say, you said your coverage is through work. Okay. Once again, you know, that's why we're created as a company, because your union president knows that your benefits through work are not permanent. So your life insurance isn't permanent. You wouldn't put that at the top. Your work coverage, you see where it says group coverage, hospital, medical here? That's where you would put your work coverage at. Right? So you put the company, the policy number, and then there's no spot for an amount, because once again, Joe, once you quit, fire, retire, all of those benefits you have at work, they will go away. Right? So, and then at that point, I would say, now, once you get some permanent coverage, you would put the company, so AIL, the policy number, and then the amount. Right? I'm just assuming that they're going to get it when you get some permanent coverage, right? I'm just assuming. So that's the first way they can answer is, yes, I have permanent coverage, but it's through work, because they don't understand what permanent means.
Right.
All right. Now, number two, they can answer, yes, I do have permanent coverage. And then once again, I'm going to say, now, is that through work or is that outside of work? And then they go, it's actually outside of work. I pay for it outside of work. I'm like, okay, great. Who do you have it through, for example? Who do you have it through, for example? All right. The reason why I'm asking them that question, Lindsay, is because I want to know what company they have it through, because I'm very knowledgeable on the different types of companies and what kind of products they have. Right. Now, that comes from years of experience in doing my independent research. Right. There's no like formula or table that has all of the companies here and what products they sell and what prices they are. That doesn't exist. If it did, that'd be great. Right. But what I usually do is that when I'm in a sit, and this is how I got good at it, when I was in a sit and then if they had permanent coverage, I would write down the name of the company they had it through. And my homework that night was to research that company and what kind of products they had. So that I knew down the road, when I heard it again, I know what they have already and how their company operates. So I can tell them that you don't have whole life, you have term. right? There's one big one you're going to see out there a lot. It's called Primerica.
Yeah, that's what came up yesterday.
Right? Primerica is 100% term policy company. Right? Now, a lot of people you meet that have Primerica will think that their policy is a whole life policy. Right? They will 100% think that, because Primerica does not show them what the difference between term and whole is. They just show them coverage and price. That's it. They don't educate them. So most people just pick a big number for a small price. They don't know what they're getting themselves into. So they get a bill 5 years down the road and the price is doubled. They're like, what happened? Well, it's a term policy that doubles after the term, right? So if they say yes, you want to figure out who they have it through, for example, right? If they say I have it through Primerica, I would say, okay, great. You're going to put Primerica, the policy number, and then the amount. At that point, Lindsay, I don't want you to say, you have Primerica, that's term, that's bad, you shouldn't have that. I don't want you to get into their life insurance coverage right there because you're not the expert yet. Does that make sense? Like, I don't want you to break down anything. In their eyes, you're not the expert. You have to explain how term and whole works really quickly, and then you can break down what they have. They have to see that you're an expert before they'll listen to you there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So those are the first two ways, right? And typically either one of these ways is fine. It doesn't matter to me if they have coverage or not. I honestly don't care. I would hope that they do, because it's a little bit easier to work with someone who already has coverage than to work with someone who never got it and they're 55 years old.
Right. And technically they would put it there anyways.
Correct.
Until it goes away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even term coverage, I would put down company policy number and amount. I would leave that on the top because it's a permanent policy, just permanent for a certain amount of time.
Right.
But the final way, if they say no, I mean, typically that's the best way. You know, they don't have any coverage, right? But at that point, I would say, okay, you don't have any permanent life insurance coverage. I would typically say, now, Joe, not if, but when you get some permanent coverage, because we all need it, right? Not if, but when you get some permanent coverage, because we all need it, right? You're going to put the company, so AIL, you would put AIL there, the policy number, and then the amount. That way, all your family has to do is call one company, give them the policy number, and have that amount issued to your family as quick as possible. Now, Joe, the reason why this is designed is because just alone last year, $1.3 billion of life insurance went unclaimed. It's a lot of money. That's hardworking people like you putting their money into a life insurance policy and their families never receiving the payout. Can you take a guess on why that happens, Joe? And they'll usually say, because no one knew about it or they forgot about it. Mm-hmm. That's the exact reason. People forget about things like this, even if they're paying into it every single month. Because after, you got to remember, Lizzie, like after the first 2 or 3 months, the adjustment period of having that policy, it's just kind of built into their budget at that point, you know?
Yeah.
I had my mom the other day, like this is a great example of this. My mom the other day kind of was like combing through the bank account and was seeing this charge of $30 every month. And she was like, what is this? And I was like, I don't even know. Let's dig a little bit deeper. Turns out it was a gym that I had when I was living in Philadelphia. I was still paying for it for like a year, right? And how many times does that happen? A lot. So this is a good way to make sure that the money does get distributed to whoever's supposed to go to, right? Mm-hmm. The next section down, if we keep going through it, financial institution information, that's just bank information. You know, this is a good way to find out if they have a bank right here, but sometimes people will lie to you and tell you they do and they don't. So I would always just say, now, Mary and Joe, you have a checking account? And they would say, yeah, we have a checking account. Okay, great. You're going to put down who you bank through, the account number, everything in there, so that if something does happen, your family can access your money and it doesn't get taken by the bank. All right. Next section down. I'm not still drawing on the screen. Sorry. Next section down is the safe deposit box section. These are kind of being phased out. You won't see too many safe deposit boxes nowadays, but if they have one, put it down, because sometimes when people have safe deposit boxes, the reason why this is on there is they were very popular. But what happened is a lot of people were putting like things they shouldn't have in there, like a will, a deed to land, family inheritance, things that their family needs, but they can't access right away.
Right.
There's something called a probate period that if your name wasn't on the safe deposit box or on the same bank account, they would lock that up for 6 to 8 months while they figured it out. Right. And that's a long time, especially if you're waiting on money that's in there, or investments in there, deeds to land in there. Like, there's a lot of stuff that could go wrong in that situation. So that's why we have them just notify who's there and who's on it, And then the last section, the funeral service request section, this is probably the second most important section on here, because this gives the member a way to kind of plan their future, kind of put in place what they want done, right? And the way I kind of say it is, I would say, Lindsay, this is, the last part of the family information guide here. This is your funeral service request. Everybody has their own way of going out, whether it's a burial, a mausoleum, or a cremation. All you got to do is mark it down your way. That way, no one's going to fight about it. Right? And at the bottom, you can also see there's a spot for special instructions if you have anything unique you want done. Right? So I usually say, if you want, cremated and shot off into space, if you want mummified, if you, want a Viking funeral, I don't know. I've been doing this for 5 years. I've heard everything under the sun. So whatever you want down, put it that way. And then also at the bottom here, you can get this notarized and it will hold up as a legal document. Just keep in mind though, it's not a will. It's not designed to go through court proceedings, right? And I ask them, does it make sense why this is set up for you guys as members? And they'll say, yes. Okay, great. Any questions on how it works at all? The one question you might get is they might say, when I fill it out, who do I send it to? And you don't send it anywhere, they keep it with them, right? Some people think that we want them to fill this stuff out and send it back to us. We don't want that. It's designed for them to keep it at their house.
Yeah, when I was going through and learning the script, the first time when I was trying to review it personally on my own before training, I was pointing out when I was rehearsing the front page.
Yeah.
About like where to store it yourself. And indicating, don't put it in a safe deposit box, keep it where you keep all your regular like tax documents and stuff at home.
Yeah, it's the best place for it by far. That or like a home fireproof safe or something like that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, that's one of the big reasons. If this is locked in a safe deposit box, how is your family going to ever find this? There's a lot of information on there, including their life insurance, right? So yes. Do you have any questions on that at all, Lindsay?
No.
All right, cool. So now the next benefit that they have set up for you, right? I always say that. That's my transition every single time. The next benefit they have set up for you. I'm going to go over the AD&D certificate. Now keep in mind, not every member has this. If this is a child safe kit, right after this, you're going into the term versus whole life, right? If it's a union member, I'm going right into the AD&D certificate. And if it's a will kit member, I'm going right into the will kit. Right. So the AD&D certificate, I'll pop that up here for you. So I have a sample of one. Ooh. All right. Can you see it on the screen here?
Yeah.
Oops. Okay. I can't even scroll. How do you zoom this thing here? Okay. So what I would do is I would say, okay, Joe, your next no cost benefit is your group accidental death and dismemberment certificate. Now, Joe, you should see this on the screen here in a couple of seconds. And then he's like, yep, I see that. I'll say, okay, Joe, can you see that little card over to the right? Does that look like your handwriting? And they'll say, yeah, that's either my handwriting, or if it's really neat like that, it's probably the wife's handwriting, to be 100% honest with you. just from experience in doing this for 5 years. Typically, if it's legible, it's the wife doing it. But I always just say, now that's your handwriting correct? And he'd be like, yeah, that's the wife's handwriting. I'm gonna say, okay, great. Now I'm just gonna walk him through it very, very basically. I'm gonna say, okay, Joe, this policy, or Kurt, whatever this guy's name is, Kurt. I'll say, okay, Kurt, you know, who is covered with this program? All active members and retired members in good standing. So as long as you're an active member or retired member in good standing, this policy is going to be active for you. Right? Now, to the right of that, there's an SG number and an ID number. Those are the two numbers that the person making the claim is going to have to give our company. Right? Now, Joe, this policy, or Kurt, this policy is for the benefits for the accidental loss of your life, both hands, both feet, both eyes, one hand, one foot, one hand, one eye, one foot, one eye. If anything in that category happens, Joe, and you're still alive, that money comes out to you directly. Now, Joe, if you do die because of that accident, that money would come out to Linda. Does that make sense? And he would say yes. Right? And I would also say, Joe, if you do lose one hand, one foot, or sight of one eye, half of that amount, so $2,000 will come out to you if any of those were to happen, right? So Joe, just realize though that $2,000 is not a lot of money, right? It's not enough to be cutting your hands off about, but if that does happen, then that money is there for prosthetics and things like that, right? Do you have any questions on what the policy covers, Joe? Right? He would say no. Typically, if you explain it that easy, that simple to them, they're not going to have questions because it's not a tough policy to look over, right?
It's not.
So once you walk them through that part, let's see if I can scroll down. Can I scroll? There we go. Okay. The next part I go over with them is I scroll down a little bit and I say, now there are some exclusions, Joe, mainly suicide, sickness, voluntary taking of drugs, acts of war, committing felonies, that type of thing, right? And then I say at the bottom down here, Joe, when they send this out to you, everything from the red line up is going to be sent out. Anything from the red line down will actually be kept at our office for records. All right. So I have to verify everything else on the bottom there for you. So just walk them through their address again. So I would say, Joe, your address is 6N381 Baker Drive in Ithaca, Illinois. Is that still correct for you? Okay, great. Date of birth, 12/22/59. And then the phone number here. Joe, the phone number, the 847-997-8999, is that your phone number, Joe, or is that Linda's phone number? Right. Most of the time it's going to be Joe's phone number because that's the phone number that's on the card. Right. But really here they want Linda's phone number. So I would say if that's your phone number, Joe, all right. So what they need is they need Linda's phone number because Joe, if something happens to you, you're probably not going to be answering your phone, correct? And he'll say, yeah, probably not. Right. So what we want to do there is we want to get Linda's phone number as well. So I would say, Linda, what's your phone number? We'll put it on the card there. And we'll get her number, write it down next to her name. Once I ask that, I say, guys, you know, the last thing that they have us do here is because basically, you know, Joe, me, you, and Linda are really the only people that kind of know about this policy. So what they have us do is collect a second and third beneficiary for this policy. So if something were to happen to you, Linda, before you, Joe, or you and Linda together in the same common accident, who would you want this money to go to, Joe? So we got to make sure we get the second and third beneficiaries there, right? Typically, they recommend somebody that's younger than them and local. If they have a tough time figuring that out, they need to have those names on there before we can move on, right? Typically, we want two. Right? If they're a single person and they only have, you know, one parent left and they name their parent, then they don't have anybody else left. Don't pressure them to do it. But at the end of the day, you still want to make sure that they have that stuff set up. Like if Linda dies, this money is going to go unclaimed because there's nobody else that's on this. Right? Now, what we do is on the back of that certificate, on the bottom part that we rip off, we put the members' beneficiaries, the contingent beneficiaries, so that we have it at the office for a file. Right. And then I ask them, do you guys have any questions on the policy, how it works, anything like that at all? And they'll typically tell me no, but we're good to go, right? But Lindsay, do you have any questions on explaining it? It's pretty easy.
Nah.
All right, cool. All right, so that was, and then after that with a union member, or, you know, I would go right into the term versus whole, walk them through how term versus whole works, and then go into the needs analysis and that type of thing, right? Josh is going to do term versus whole with you guys on Monday. He's teaching training class on Monday, all right? But the last no cost benefit I want to go over with you and kind of give you an explanation on how it works. And I can even send this out to you too, so you have it. At the end here, I'll get your email address and I'll send you a video on the will kit of a guy that kind of created the program. He's going to show you how it works. He's going to kind of walk you through it. He's going to give you like a long version of explaining it and then give you a quick 10-minute version of explaining it. So how you can explain it to the member. It's a great video. It's about 50 minutes long, but I would recommend watching it. All right. But I'll send this out to you as well. This is the documents for the will kit. Now, can you see me on the screen still?
Yeah.
Their will kit comes in two parts. So it's two. There's a workbook, which is blue. And then there is the actual kit documents, which is green.
Okay.
So the workbook itself, let me stop sharing just so you can see me bigger. So the workbook itself, you can see it there, it looks different. The workbook itself is designed for them to fix, replace, change, update. Once they finalize it in here, then they can just transfer all the information over to the green version of it, right? Now, the first thing on the blue version is a checklist for them, right? The checklist that walks them through everything. Once they get everything checked off, then they can transfer everything over to the green copy, right? The only difference in these two copies is that the workbook, these two pages are the exact same, right? That's the left side, and this is the right side. It's the exact same, right? Except over on this side, it gives you examples on what to put in the empty lines, and on this side there's blank lines.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it gives you an example over here on how to fill it out, and over here they give you the blank lines to do it, right? And it works that way through the whole workbook. Every single page is the same every time, right? But what I walk them through, I tell them at the beginning, I say there's a workbook involved as well. I'm going to walk you through the actual documents so that you know how to fill it out, right? And then I'll pull it up on the screen for them, right? So of course, the first page is their name. Put your name. My last will and testament of whatever your name is, right? Now, when they open it up, of course, the top part, Article 1, is their family information. So they're going to put their spouse, their kids, their significant other, and relatives. They're going to put them in there because later down the road in the will, it's going to refer to my family, my spouse, my kids. And then that's where they're going to refer to it back to right here, right? Article number 2 is a pretty important article on here. I wish they would have made it bigger because it's really important and people kind of skip over it. Article number 2 basically states that all debts of the estate are the responsibility of the executor. Okay, so basically you can see in red there, it says executor has the right to handle all expenses. So what that means is, let's say that Joe passed away. Joe's gone, right? But he had, $100,000 in his estate. It's worth $100,000 positive, right? Now, unfortunately, Joe, when he died, he owed $20,000 on a loan, and then he owed $30,000 in medical bills, right? So he's negative $50,000. What the executor of the estate has to do is they have to use this $100,000 to pay this off first before they give anything to the family. Does that make sense, Lindsay?
Mm-hmm.
Because if they don't, whoever the executor of Joe's estate is now legally on the hook for that 50 grand. That's how debt gets transferred down through generations. because people don't understand that aspect of it, right? Once your name is legally on that, that's your responsibility. So what I tell my members is make sure that your executor knows this. Don't name an executor just because he's your son and lives 7 states away. He has to know that what his responsibilities are. All right. Article number 3 is the disposition of property. This is what most people think about when they have a will. Right, leaving certain things to certain people. So there's actually 4 different types of property you can leave to somebody. The first type of property you can see right there with all these lines is called specific bequests. This is anything that either has real world value or intrinsic value to you and your family. Do you know what intrinsic value means, Lindsay?
Emotional
Yes.
significance.
Yep, 100%. So it's like if my grandma had a necklace and really it was only worth $100, but my family valued it at $5,000 because it's her necklace. That's intrinsic value.
Yeah.
It's something that I find valuable that you might not.
Right.
And typically it's family heirlooms, things like that, right? So they can list the article, who it's going to be distributed to, and where they live at.
Mm-hmm.
So they can break down everything. And you can see there's 36 different spots there. So there's a lot of spots for that. And if they have more than 36, all they have to do is create like a Word document or get a lined piece of paper and keep continuing it and then sign the bottom of it, and they can include it right in the will too. All right. But the second type of property you could leave to somebody is what's called a digital asset. So a digital asset is something that's either costing you money online or making you money online. So we're looking at like Facebook, Hulu, Netflix, Instagram, Amazon, all of those websites that have either like transaction every month or subscriptions, things like that. You want to either stop, or if it's a Facebook page, something like that, continue, make sure someone else is going through with that, right? Mm-hmm. It's becoming more and more popular with the internet, right? But
or if you have your own business, you are transferring ownership.
Exactly. Yes, you would definitely do that there with digital assets, right? Because you're going to nominate someone to take care of that stuff. Mm-hmm. So the main reason why too is because a lot of people have like auto draft coming out of their account. And to be honest with you, Netflix does not know or care that you died. They don't.
Right. No.
They're going to keep drafting that money every single month until you tell them to stop. All right. So typically digital assets, like I said, either costing you money online or making you money online. All right. The third type of property you could leave to somebody is called remaining tangible personal property. Now, what that is anything that's left over at the house for like an estate sale or a yard sale or something like that. So like couches, furniture, dishes, Tupperware, I don't know, all kind of crazy stuff. Like just for instance, my aunt passed away a couple of months ago, and God rest her soul. To be honest, loved her like my grandmother, but she was a hoarder. She wasn't a hoarder like in the general sense, like she has papers and everything. What she did was she was addicted to online shopping. So she would order these things from QVC and all kind of other websites and on the phone. And I am not kidding you, Lindsay.
I have an aunt like that.
And she had 4 pressure cookers. She had 4 microwaves, 3 toaster ovens in the box, still not touched. Right. So she had so much stuff in the basement that we had to do. Now, my uncle was the beneficiary, and her son was taking care of everything. What we had to do, we had so much stuff we couldn't sell it. We couldn't have a yard sale because there was so much stuff. We ended up hiring a company. They listed everything individually, and then they paid them out on what they sold. Right. But that's a whole process you have to leave to somebody to take care of. Right. So that's the person you want to put on that line right there.
Yeah. I prior to this job, I worked at a property management company, and one of our tenants passed in their apartment and was a hoarder and didn't know prior to until afterwards. And yeah, having to deal with all of that. So
Yep. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot, especially if it's just dumped on somebody, you know?
Yeah.
Now we kind of knew where it was heading, and we kind of planned a little bit. Like every time I would go back to Pittsburgh, I'd take a couple things from the basement that she wasn't using and bring it to my apartment, because I'm not buying a new pressure cooker. I'm not buying all this new stuff, you know? She has it. I can honestly tell you, all my appliances in my house are from my aunt. All right. So, but the last part of personal property is what's called the residuary estate. That's typically anything that's like a liquid asset, like 401k, savings, Roth IRAs, anything that's tied up in an investment. You're not going to put the individual investment. Basically, what you're going to do is total up your total investments and then break it down per person. So they can break it down for, you know, up to 10 people there, I think 9. So they would just name the person, the city, and the state, right? Now, the one thing here where it says in red is it has to add up to 100%. The judge could throw this out because of incompetence if you don't have it add up to 100%. If it adds up to 90%, the judge is like, this person can't even fill this out right, I'm throwing this out. Right? So that's one small thing there that they have to know. Like, make sure it adds up to 100%. It sounds stupid, but you know, there's a reason why they have that mark there, you know. Any questions so far, Lindsay? I know I'm flying through it. Okay. Article number 4 is the nomination of independent personal representative. So this is where your executor and your backup executor is. It says executive there, and that's spelled wrong. It's executor or backup executor or executress. They're going to nominate one person to take care of everything and be the executor, and then they're going to nominate a backup. Article number 5 is the same thing, but just for the digital executor. They can nominate the same people. Doesn't have to be different people in there, but some family members are better with technology than others, right? I grew up in a family of five other brothers. I'm not great with technology. I hate it, to be honest with you.
I'm the tech savvy one in my entire family.
There you go. So you know what I'm talking about. My little brother's that way. He can figure out everything. So if something were to happen, he would probably be my mother's digital executor because he knows how to do all that stuff. He's not frustrated by it, right? I am, on the other hand. I hate like recovering passwords, and I hate that more than anything, right? But they don't have to be different. They can be the same people. But you know, in your situation, you could probably be the digital executive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Article number 6 is the nomination of guardian. Now, this doesn't come into play very often. This would only be if the person you are sitting down with has guardianship of somebody under the age of 18.
Right.
So maybe if you're sitting down with somebody and their daughter is in jail or something like that, or it's not fit for a parent, they could have guardianship over their kids, right? Or maybe you're with a younger family and they have young kids, right? They need to nominate a guardian and a backup guardian, because if they do not, those kids will go directly into the system.
Right, into foster.
Right, into foster care, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if you have any experience with this or not, but the process of getting somebody through foster care is not quick.
It's not.
That kid could go in there and all the paperwork could be ready to go. It could still take 3 or 4 weeks before they come out of there, right? Now, the reason why this is on there is because the judge will not just give your custody to your uncle because he's your uncle. That's not how it works, right? The judge doesn't know your uncle from a guy down the street. He's going to put them in foster care until they can figure this stuff out. So to avoid all of that, just put the name down of someone who's going to take care of the kids, and then they get direct custody of them at that point, right? They don't have custody, they have guardianship over them, right? It's a little different, but right. At the same time, they're not in the foster care system, right? And I wish this wasn't the case, but unfortunately, sometimes when the kids are in foster care, if there's multiple kids, they could get split up, right? So just to avoid all that stuff, all you have to do is ask them, are you the guardian of anybody under the age of 18? If they say yes, kind of walk them through it. If they say no, then you don't have to worry about that.
Right.
Article number 7 is nomination of pet guardian, right?
Right.
Pets are like our families. I mean,
Yep.
to be honest with you, my dog passed away about 2 months ago. He was like my best friend. I had him for 12 years. Like
I
my
know.
best friend.
These two are my babies. Like,
Exactly.
I don't plan on having kids. Like, my 2 cats are my children. Yeah.
So you understand, right? Most people with pets are the same exact way. And to be honest, most people with pets know that if they do pass away, that their pets, hopefully that their friends will take their pets, but at the same time, there's no guarantee of that. Right? What happens a lot of the time is those pets go to animal shelters, right? And I can honestly tell you, if I died and my dog was still alive, he was old. He was 13 years old, right? If I would have died and he went to the animal shelter, he wouldn't have lasted long there. I can guarantee that, right? So all you have to do is nominate a guardian down there for pets. I'm sure you'll be okay to go over that with them. Not too difficult.
Sure.
Article, and there's even a spot down there that they can leave money every single month for them to take care of the pets too. Article number 8 is the power of the executor, what they can do, right? The powers that they have. Article number 9 is the digital executor's powers, what they can do. Just some legal jargon, you don't have to go through it with them. I always tell them, article number 9 or 8 and number 9, read through before you nominate your executor. Article number 10 is special directives. So as you can see, it says there in red, special details, for funerals. So anything that they want done on the funeral side. They want buried, cremated, mausoleum, who they want to attend the funeral, who they don't want to be there, what kind of flower arrangements, who they want to send donations to, like all of that stuff.
Colors, music, etc.
Exactly. The one thing I also tell them there as well is, now, Joe, you said that you do have some permanent life insurance, right? You're going to put that life insurance covers down there as well. You're going to put the policy number, the name, and the amount. Just 2 or 3 places so your family knows that you have it. All right. So you got that. It's pretty easy. Just let them know that's the funeral. Special directives there. All right. It says I give my special directives. I give my special directives and last wishes as. Article number 11 is just some miscellaneous provisions. I tell them more legal jargon. Kind of read through that. Nothing crazy to explain to them. Now the next page is where they're going to get this signed and notarized and have 2 witnesses as well. So when they sign this, they need to get it notarized and have 2 witnesses be there as well. As you can see right there, it says bank makes this easy.
Yeah, bank always has a notary.
They by law have to have a notary public on hand, right? So this is a good place right here to ask them if they have the bank or who they bank through. Right, another good spot, because at the end of the day, if they don't have a checking account, they can't get the coverage, right? So it's a good place to ask them, who do you guys bank through? Right, and they say, oh, we bank with Chase. I'm gonna say, okay, great news. We actually work very closely with Chase, and we know that Chase has a notary public on hand. So once you finalize this, Joe, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this down to Chase, and then you're going to tell them you need to get this notarized. And what they're going to do is they're going to grab 2 bank tellers as witnesses. So you're going to sign this, the bank tellers are going to sign this, and then the notary is going to sign this. Make it easy on yourself. All right? Witnesses should not be family members, friends, relatives. They should be people that you don't really know, because there's no legal repercourse for the will. Like, they're not going to get called into court. This is just stating that they're not there's just stating that the notary is not the same person as it's signing it as the will, right? That is public notary, right?
And not also like conflict of interest, because they're not in the will.
Exactly, 100%. That's the main reason why. Just so that there's no conflict of interest, there's no overlapping of beneficiaries or somebody being on the will and a witness. Can't happen, right? So that's the actual last part of the living will section, or the final will section. Now, this is also a living will as well. So, Lindsay, do you know the difference between a will and a living will?
No.
Okay, no, don't, I asked them that anyway. I asked my
I had to think about it. I'm like, what would be the difference? And I'm like,
the only difference is that they're alive. So.
well, yeah, I figured that, but then I was thinking, it's like, well, what would be specific in it? And I'm like, I'm
Yeah,
not
so
really
that's the only
sure.
difference. The will kicks in when you die. The living will kicks in when you're one of these next three things on the page here. I'll show you. Hold on. That's typically what I tell them. You know, the living will, and I always ask them that question. I say, do you know the difference between a will and a living will? And if they tell me no, I say, now the will is going to kick in once you die, but the living will is going to be there in case you are mentally and physically incapacitated, have a terminal condition, an end state condition, or in a persistent vegetative state. So if you're alive, but you're not really alive, right? That's when this living will kicks in. And this is designed to make sure that your family knows what to do or what you want done in that situation, right? So of course, at the top, they're going to put their name. They're going to initial to the lifelong procedures there if they want those done. Letter B down here, that's their nutrition and hydration. So if they do or do not want to receive artificially administered nutrition, God forbid if they are pregnant during the time, what they want done there. Section D is other requests. So things like life support. I don't want to be taken off of feeding tubes. Because of my religion, I can't have blood transfusions, things like that. Right? Small little caveats to what they want done. Right?
And specifics, yeah.
Yes. And then in section 2 over here, designation of healthcare surrogate. So basically, who's in charge of the decisions? Who's going to be in charge of everything? You're going to nominate one person up here, and they're going to nominate 2 alternates down here. Right? And then, of course, you can always limit the decision-making of that person, what they can't do. So if you want to be on, breathing tubes for as long as possible, if they're not able to pull the plug on you, put that down. Right? The workbook has a lot of good examples of what to actually put in there. It gives you 1 or 2. Like I said, the main ones are like because of religious beliefs a lot of the times. A couple of the other ones, more or less, are, I don't know. How they're communicating back and forth with your state, receiving blood transfusions, feeding tubes, breathing tubes, that type of thing, iron lung, all that good stuff. All right.
Sure. If they have their own specifics, they'll know what to put in there.
Exactly. Most people kind of know what they want done, or if they don't, they just pull the plug. They can do it that easy too,
Right.
But after that, again, they're going to have a spot where they're going to notarize it and have 2 witnesses as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Same deal.
Now, yes, same exact deal. They can get it all done in one shot. So get it all filled out, take it there, get it notarized twice, 2 witnesses sign it twice, they're good to go. Now, the digital assets part, that's the last part here. That's where they're going to put all their digital assets at. So you notice that on that section where it said digital assets, there wasn't enough space to leave everything. So they just put it to the back here. And on the back, there is, I think, 20 some spots. Let me make sure that. Yeah, 19. There's 19 spots there. So they have 19 places, 19 assets digitally that they can put on there, where to access it, username, password, all that good stuff. All right. And that's the end of the kit. At the end there, I asked them, do you have any questions on how to fill out the kit? Once they tell me no, at that point, what I tell them is I say, now the last thing you're going to do with this kit after you get it notarized is you're going to make 4 copies. They're going to keep a copy with them at the house. They're going to keep a copy with their executor or executrix. They're going to keep a copy with their healthcare provider or their doctor. And they're going to keep a copy with their lawyer or law team or attorneys. Right? So
Did they need to keep a copy with their digital executor or no?
They can. Yeah. I would always say just a minimum of 4, right? Just to have those 4 bases covered. It means everybody has access to the same information. And if somebody loses it, then the other person's got backups. All right.
Okay.
But that's a general thing I tell them at the end there. And I ask them, now, do you have any questions on how your will kit works at all? And they say no. And then that last thing I got to do, remember, collect referrals. This is a great thing to get referrals from. I'm telling you, like when I go over the will kit, I always get 3 or 5 people because they see a good value in it. Because at the same time, when people are looking to get a will or designing a will, it's not their thought by themselves. Typically, someone mentioned it and they're talking about it, right? Someone mentioned it to them, or they're thinking about it and they're mentioning it to other people. So at this point, what I typically say to them is I say, Mary and Joe, you know, with the will kit, you guys actually have the unique opportunity to get this out to a couple other people as well. Right now, they're allowing you to sponsor 5 other people to get it for free. So, you know, I am extremely busy taking care of a lot of our union members, but I promise you that anybody that you refer into the program, I'll put them at the top of the list. So, Joe, who do you know that was actually looking for a will as well? Who do you know is in the same situation as you that are trying to plan their estate down the road? Right? Once again, give them some suggestions there. All right. But after collecting that, next thing, boom, right into the term versus whole, and then you're kind of going through the rest of the presentation. All right. So those are, you know, the no cost benefits. Keep in mind, not every member is going to get the same no cost benefits. You got to kind of tailor it to the people. And a lot of the time you can tailor it to them based on the rapport that you build with them. All right. But other than that, Lindsay, you know, we finished about a half an hour early. You have any other questions? Yeah.
I do. When you said make 4 copies, the original, who do you give it to? The self or the lawyer?
You would keep the original at your house, at your place.
Okay.
And then you would make a copy. Yeah, make a copy for your executor, executress, your attorney, your healthcare provider, and then you would also give a copy to
the executor.
Yes.
Okay.
So
just making sure. I was trying to just remember which one the original stays with.
Typically, it would stay with you.
Okay.
But I mean, you can give it to your attorney or law team too. By law, they have to have it on file. You know, they're your legal representative.
Right.
So, good question. Good question. Any other questions? Anything about the no cost benefits? Anything like that at all?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, cool. Put your email address in the chat so that I can send you everything for this.
There you go.
Okay, I got it. Taking a picture of it now, and give me a couple minutes and I'll get that sent over to you. And then other than that, we have a little team huddle at 3:30, and then we'll be getting on the phones here. Okay. So got about an hour to go grab some lunch or whatever you got to do. And then we'll get you over the link for the team huddle, and I'll see you in the call room a little bit later.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think I've gotten the link for the team huddle.
Okay. We'll send it over. I don't think Josh created it yet. We'll send it over to you though. I got you.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you guys had a dedicated one or not.
It's usually just our phone number. It's either my phone number or Josh's phone number.
Gotcha.
All right. Well, I'll see you shortly.
Alrighty.